Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Planet Hall today. I apologize for coming at you a little bit later than usual. But we had some civil construction going on this morning. Lots of jackhammering, lots of sawing, so obviously not conducive to me podcasting with a giant microphone in front of me. So if you hear some noise in the background, you'll have to excuse that. There's a gym right across the street, and they're out there doing their thing right now. Man, I really wanted to talk about something else today. However, the topic I want to talk about today seems a little bit more poignant. Obviously, I think it's certainly topical as it is a recent occurrence. And today I want to kind of talk about the shooting of the Trump supporter in Denver. For those of you who don't know, there was a rally. I believe it was a Back to Blue rally. I'll do some reading here in a second. And I believe it was a Back to Blue rally. And there was a local news station that was covering it. So they hired a individual that was supposed to be a private security guard. And this individual confronted one of the protesters, in which time a confrontation ensued that turned physical, and this alleged security guard took out a handgun and shot the man in the face and killed him. So obviously this is a bad thing. But that's basically the preamble, and let me go ahead and dive on in now. Now this is from, this story is actually from Fox News. Suspect in Denver shooting not a licensed security guard. Report. Matthew Robert Dolloff was reportedly working as a contracted security guard for 9 News. The private security guard, who has been jailed on suspicion of first-degree murder stemming from the deadly shooting on Saturday in Denver during dueling protests, was reportedly not properly licensed to work in the position. Matthew Robert Dolloff, 30, was reportedly working as a contracted security guard for 9 News at the time of the shooting. The local news station reported late Sunday that he was hired through another company to accompany its news staff to the protests. The station reported that it later found out that it appears that, good God, there's a lot of that's. The station reported that it later found out that it appears that, man, that could have been written better, Dolloff was not actually employed by the company it used, and the company did not provide additional information about his actual employer. The 9 News report went further and said Denver's Department of it says excise. I don't know if that's supposed to be exercise. I don't know if that's a typo, but it says excise and licenses has no record that Dolloff was licensed to work as a security guard. Dolloff was taken into custody in connection with a clash that took place Saturday afternoon in Civic Center Park in Denver. A man participating in what was billed a Patriot rally slapped and sprayed mace at a man who appeared to be Dolloff, the Denver Post reported, based on its photographs from the scene. The man identified by the newspaper as Dolloff drew a gun from his waistband and shot the other person, according to the Denver Post journalist who witnessed the episode. The man who was shot dead was identified by family members as Lee Keltner, a military veteran, grandfather, and avowed patriot who was there to express his support for police. My son Lee was at the Patriot rally today in Denver. His mother wrote to the group. After the rally, a person on the BLM and Antifa side went up to him, said a few nasty words, then shot him in the head. He was murdered because he backed the police. So, I'm sorry, a little piece down here. A decision on any charges will be up to the Denver District Attorney's Office, police said. A spokesperson for the District Attorney, Beth McCann, said Sunday that the arrest affidavit in the case remained sealed and referred further questions to the police. So, now I was watching a couple of clips on Twitter about, I saw one that was kind of a frame by frame video where you can actually see this person, Dolloff, go up and instigate the confrontation with Mr. Keltner, and when he retaliated, again, smacking the man or whatever, pushing him off, you see Dolloff go for his gun. Keltner then went for his mace, discharges his mace, and the guy shoots him. My first thoughts are that of, obviously, condolences for the man's family, Mr. Keltner's family. A man that did not deserve to die as he did. It really is sad. It really is. I had to kind of. So, me getting to this late in the day is actually twofold. Number one, I said the construction and all that, but honestly, I had to process this first because I had a very visceral reaction to this. And I just don't want to be on here just flying off the handle. I'm going to try to compose my thoughts here. But the truth of the matter is, I'm fucking pissed off about this. Very much so. Admittedly, whenever I see somebody who loses their life needlessly from the violence of, another American, it really irritates me when that person is a military veteran. Like that pisses me off. The fact that this man who dedicated his life to his country for whatever period of time, I don't care if it was 4 years, I don't care if it was 20 years, the man raised his hand and took the oath to defend his country. And for him to be killed by this piece of shit, Dolloff, some little punk ass little bitch that probably hasn't done a fucking thing with his life, is really irritating to me. I'm looking at this Charlie Kelly looking motherfucker right now, and I just want to punch through this computer screen. I don't know that Denver has capital punishment. I'm going to look this up right now. Does Colorado have capital punishment? I doubt it. Most states don't. Capital punishment in Colorado. That's weird. That's weirdly written. Here we go. Let's go down here. Capital punishment was abolished in Colorado in 2020. Too bad. Just made it. But whenever I see cases like this where a military veteran is murdered, to me that should be a capital offense. Period. That should be a hanging offense. That should be something that we punish and that we display. Again, this man served his country. Obviously, a vocal support of police. What's interesting to me is when these little Antifa-types, right, when these little punk-ass purple-haired little freaks want to have their little protest and their little bitch fits, and when they want to burn shit down, and when they want to tear shit down, Conservatives give them space to do that. You very rarely see any stories of conservatives interfering with their rallies. You very rarely see any stories where these people are out there having their little rage fits, and a bunch of conservatives come up and instigate violence with them. So one side respects the First Amendment. See, one side respect. That's the overarching theme of this. One side is respecting the rules, and the other side is not. And the fact that these people can't take that's one of the things that is just supremely ironic, right, and contradictory, is that these people claiming to be Antifa, anti-fascist, for those who do not know what that little acronym, or it's not even really an acronym, it's just an abbreviation, stands for. It's supposed to stand for anti-fascist, right? Well, so they're using fascist tactics, though, right? Because we did this once before, but let's do this one more time. Let's look up the definition of fascism. Okay, we're going to go to Merriam-Webster here. Fascism: a political philosophy, movement, or regime, such as that of a fascisti, that exalts nation and often race above the individual and stands for a centralized autocratic government headed by a dictatorial leader, severe economic and social regimentation, and forcible suppression of opposition. Okay, so at the onset, it sounds like it doesn't apply to a group like Antifa, right? Well, no, let's break this down. A political philosophy, they do have a political philosophy, right? It's authoritarian Marxism. Movement, it is a movement, and they are a regime, not so much in the sense of a government, but they are, that's what's so insulting when you have people like Joe Biden say it's just an idea. First of all, that is a, that to me was such a cop out answer, and it didn't even make sense. You know why? Because guess what? Nazism was an idea, and then there were Nazis. So that's it makes no sense. That answer made no sense. But okay. So I'm sorry. A political philosophy, movement, we've covered that exalts nation and often race above the individual. Okay. Now we're not talking about race per se. Now you could make some arguments about some of the beliefs and things held by people who are a part of it. That's not what I'm going to do here. That exalts nation. Well, it's exalting a new nation. It's exalting a Marxist nation. It's exalting a authoritarian nation. It's exalting a neoliberal leftist nation. It stands for a centralized autocratic government headed by a dictatorial leader, severe economic and social regimentation, and forcible suppression of opposition. I think all of those line up very easily, right? I don't think that I need to it would be somewhat redundant if I had to, if you can't connect the dots there. Man. So you got this group, they call themselves anti-fascist, but you're using fascism to quash fascism. It's somewhat paradoxical, right? Kind of like the whole thing going on with Netflix and Cuties, right? I don't know if you guys heard about that film Cuties, where Netflix is basically peddling softcore child porn in the name of raising awareness about sexualizing children. They're sexualizing children to raise awareness and to condemn sexualizing children. How does that work? I'll tell you how it works. It works because they think a lot of people are stupid. And unfortunately, they've been proven right on a lot of occasions. But for the rest of us, it's time we kind of dig our heels in, man, because this is... Let me go back to this article. I don't even want to go off on that right now. So you have one side, right? This man is here legally protesting, non-violently protesting, and he's protesting a good cause. Back the blue. Of course we should back the blue. As a matter of fact, that video is long overdue. I'll probably pop that one out at some point this week. Who knows? Because when stupid shit like this happens, I have to kind of cover it as it happens. But you know, of course, we should back the blue. So this man's out there protesting a good thing, right? This is actually a good protest. This isn't just some little rage fit. And Nine News, who I'm not letting off the hook, and I'm sorry, there needs to be some kind of action taken against this news station. Whether it's, look, the law and justice degree is it's a little rusty, but I seem to remember two things from my days of criminal law class that pop out to me. Number one, first and foremost, was respondeat superior, where the employer is responsible for the actions of the employee. In other words, if you go to McDonald's and that employee throws hot coffee on you, you don't actually sue that employee. You sue McDonald's on behalf of that employee for the actions of that employee. McDonald's will fire that person, of course, but you're illegal, and you may have a right to get that person arrested. But if you're going to sue, you're going to sue McDonald's. So I think, and again, it's been a little while since criminal law, so if that's incorrect, please shoot me a correction. I'm not above being corrected. So that one pops out immediately because Nine News hired this person under the premise that he was a security guard, even though a very basic search of this man's history shows that he is a leftist, an Antifa-type, right? And a lot of that has been uncovered on social media. I'm sure eventually it'll get wiped, as they have a penchant for doing. But that this man is an Antifa type. He was an Occupy protester. So the picture paints itself, right? We know what we're dealing with here. And I'm sorry, just look at this little. Anyway, so you hire a man who, I'm sorry, these people are emotionally unstable for the most part. And birds of a feather, right? They flock together. So it stands to reason that these people are emotionally unstable, all of them in the whole. Especially to the end where they advocate violence, right? So you hire this man who is armed to go to a protest that he is politically diametrically opposed to. What do you think is going to happen? What did you expect to happen? So no, this Nine News station needs to be held to account. Absolutely needs to be held to account. And I hope that Mr. Keltner's family can get adequate legal representation and exact financial retribution upon this news station. Honestly, I think there needs to be some kind of criminal charges as well. So I thought of respondeat superior, and along those lines, I don't know that this actually applies to it, but I also thought of assumption of risk, because now, granted, that's kind of more like, if you do something stupid, you do something dangerous, you knew it was dangerous, right? So you can't sue. Well, I mean, in this case, I think that they should have known that this man, that if you again, you do something stupid. They did something stupid in hiring an Antifa type to be security for a Back the Blue rally, right? To be security for their reporter as they went to a Back the Blue rally. What did you think was going to happen? So maybe that one doesn't apply as much, but you know what, man? I really hope that this news station gets taken to task, and I hope this pissant is found guilty of first-degree murder. And it's just a shame that Colorado did away with capital punishment, because I'd really like to see him with a rope around his neck. That's I am, and then you hear these stuff online and people talking about, like, I saw Spike Lee just made a comment about civil wars coming and all this stuff, and you know, and whatever your beliefs are on that, right? But I'm gonna tell you where I'm sitting. I 100% love this country, as is. Think it's great. That's not saying that there isn't room for improvement. There's room for improvement for everything. Nothing is perfect. Nothing that man creates or that man has an interaction with is perfect. There's nothing. So there's always room for improvement. But you know what? We're starting in a pretty good position. I'll put it that way. And the fact that people can't admit that is really just disappointing. And it's dishonest. It really is dishonest because, if this country was as bad as people made it out to be, you wouldn't be here. And otherwise, people from other countries would not be climbing over each other to get here. So, I really love this country. And one of the things that I do love about it is the fact that America is unique in that it is the only country in the history of the world that is comprised uh, of ethnically heterogeneous mixtures. Meaning it's not an ethno state, right? England is an ethno state. Japan is an ethno state. China is an ethno state. Yes, they have immigrants, but the principal contingency of that nation are Chinese people for China, are English people for England. These are these are people who their lineage all comes from that area. America is unique because we are the great melting pot. We got a little bit of everybody, and it's what's interesting. I was talking to one of my family members about it, and he said, one of the things that is interesting is that in short order, as time progresses, the blacks who are here who can trace their lineage back to slavery, American slavery, basically become the new Native Americans. And I thought that was an interesting point of view. Certainly one that I haven't really explored much more beyond that. But I said, what, that's an interesting point of view. That all of that aside, America is a melting pot, man. We got all kinds here, and you're welcome here as long as you come here the right way. Number one, and number two, you abide by you embrace the American custom, the American way of life. And one of the things that we need, in my opinion, is our patriotism, our belief in the American values. Those are the things that unite us, because otherwise we have nothing in common. Otherwise, see, it's like England doesn't need a constitution, right? Because they're all English, so they all come from a similar history. They all come from a similar lineage. They've all come from similar experiences. That's not the case here. And a lot of times there are factional rifts that were made along ethnic lines here in America. So we need things like the Constitution because we need to believe in something that unites us. We need ideals like patriotism because we need to believe in something that unites us. Again, it's a microcosm, or excuse me, it's a macrocosm of what the armed forces do. They take people from all different walks of life, black, white, Asian, Hispanic, whatever you are. People who naturally would probably not have any interaction with each other. You take a dude from the inner city, and a redneck from the sticks. Probably the most polarized example, right? So you take these two different people, and you basically forge them together. How do you do that? Well, you put them both in a similar situation, and you teach them both to value something bigger than them. You teach them both to value something that's bigger than them. You give them a common ground. And in that, all of the other things become peripheral. Because as long as they believe in that bigger thing, then they're connected. Philosophically, they're connected. So everything else, the body follows the mind. So when you, and America has, consciously destroy that thing that unites everybody, patriotism, Pledge of Allegiance out of the school, national anthem, people kneel, 1619 Project, historically bunk, but you have mainstream sources like the New York Times, although New York Times has since distanced itself from it. Don't look for that headline. But when you systematically erode the thing that brings us, that's supposed to unite us, the only thing that's left are those same different warring factions. So, I'm sorry I kind of went around the block to go around the corner here, but man, back to this and the threat of the quote unquote civil war. As long as this erosion process continues, there will be a point, right? There is a point. I listen to people a lot smarter than myself. One of whom is Thomas Sowell, and one of the things he said when he was talking about it was, there is a point of no return. There certainly is. The question is, have we passed it? If not, how close are we to it? So, you see this political violence, and it's coming. It flows in one direction, right? It's always left on right. I defy you to find me one instance of a Trump supporter walking up and killing a leftist person just out of cold blood. I defy you to find me one example. And you know why it doesn't exist? Because if it happened, we would never hear the end of it. If it happened, CNN would run with that headline until next year. If it happened, MSNBC, NBC, hell, ESPN, they would all run with that headline until next year. So right now, the violence in terms of the murders and the killings, I'm not talking about people defending themselves. Now, let's be very clear. I'm not talking about people who were targeted who decided not to be victims. And that's no disrespect to Mr. Keltner here. I think it demonstrates his intent that he was only armed with mace. I think it demonstrates his genteel nature that he was only armed with mace. But I would encourage people, I think we're beyond mace, and that's all I'll say. Now, and again, legally procured is the operative phrase here. Now, man, there is a point of no return. And as I continue to watch this violence that stems and flows in one direction, it reminds me of a situation where you have like a kid, like a little toddler, kind of pulling at a tablecloth, right? Just kind of yanking at it because it's there and they can yank at it and they're feeling their own strength for the first time, right? But what they don't see is there's, a boiling pot of noodles sitting on top of the table that's inching closer and closer to the edge of that table. And that's what these Antifa types remind me of. That's what they, not that they remind me of, they put me in the mindset of that. That they are these children just yanking at this tablecloth because they get to feel their own strength. Because the tablecloth offers very little resistance. But what they don't see is that boiling pot sitting on top of the table that's inching closer and closer to the edge of the table. So, the only reason that we haven't descended into the madness of all-out armed conflict is because conservatives are playing by the rules. Conservatives are upholding the peace, by and large. And again, I lean towards the right politically. I'm more of a centrist. I'm more of a moderate, but I lean towards the right politically. Socially, I also lean towards the right. But again, if you look at my voting record, I voted for Obama in 2008. I did not vote in 2012. I did not vote in 2016. I am voting this time. these people, man, because it's regular people, conservatives that they're just trying to get by with their life, man. They're not even worried about all this. They're too busy trying to handle their own shit. They're too busy trying to take care of their families. They're too busy trying to raise their kids right and combat all of these insane messages these children are being given. People that don't want any trouble, man. People that are genuinely good people. But, and I guess I can only speak for myself in this, man. I get up, I punch the clock, I go to work, I come home, I eat, you know. I need to start working out again. I really do, but it was so much of my life, man. I'm enjoying not doing it. But you know, and I watch the news. I shake my head, man. It's just like, come on, please don't do this. Don't do this. Calm down, settle down, and I'm hoping, man, and I'm praying, and I'm like, you know, not so much praying these days, but hoping for sure that this stuff peters out. That it's not going where my gut is telling me it's going. But, and this is not, you know, supposed to, don't take this as like some internet tough Tommy kind of thing. Because I hate that kind of thing. You get these people on Twitter that talk all this big boy shit. And it's like, okay, bud, I keep everything respectful on Twitter because why? Why try to talk tough over the internet? Like, that's some punk ass shit. But I will tell you this, man. If it gets to that point where the communication is broken down, if it gets to that point where people like me have we've lost faith in the idea that America can persevere because the hatred is so much, is so high, and it becomes a question of survival. These Antifa types are not going to want what comes with that. These people play a bunch of Call of Duty in the basement of their mom's house. And in their mind, you know, because they can, I got a high kill death ratio in Call of Duty. So you think that you're a badass. So you think you can go out there and perpetrate this in real life. You know, you're not going to want what comes with it. I'm just telling you, you're not going to want what comes with it. Because, you know, a person that doesn't believe in anything for whatever reason, right? You think, and this was a quote I've heard or seen somewhere also, or something along these lines. But it's like these people who don't believe in anything, these Antifa types who hate America. They hold no values, right? They think that makes them strong. It doesn't. It makes you weak, because ultimately it means you have nothing to fight for. But these people who give a shit about America, these people who love this country, who love the values, who love what we stand for, and not just there, right? You want to pick on religious people. Well, these people who are Christian, because you don't pick on Muslims. Let's call that clear, because you're afraid of them. Hollywood too, right? They'll run all endless little TV show jokes, and you know, Family Guy will make fun of Jesus, and South Park will make fun of Jesus, and all this other stuff. But they don't do shit with Muhammad. You know, Hollywood, they'll make fun of Christians. They won't make fun of Muslims because you're afraid of them, and that's some punk ass shit too. The fact that you'll pick on, you know, the people, because we're beholden to the American ideal, right? And if an American retaliates in kind because you're picking on their religion, a Catholic, a Protestant, whatever, then it's like, well, we have the First Amendment. They won't do it. They know better. See, that's some punk ass shit to me. You know, that's like picking on your brother instead of the neighborhood thug, the neighborhood bully. Like, you got all that energy, right? But you want to pick on your little brother. Okay, that's fine, because you know he won't fight you back because you're family. Well, that'll wear thin too. And, you know, like I said, I'm not a religious person, but I can recognize the value of it. I can certainly recognize it. I was raised with it. I can recognize the value of it for sure. And a time will come. And again, you keep pushing them. You keep attacking them. And you think that makes you strong because you don't believe in it. That means you have nothing to fight for. You really don't. But these people who believe, They have something to fight for. Anyway, man, I'm not gonna go off too much longer. I'm just really disappointed, man. Really disappointed where we are. But, and I hope it corrects. I really do. I really do. But in the meantime, we make preparations, and we just hope things turn around. But yeah, this situation with this protester, again, Mr. Keltner, Lee Keltner, didn't deserve to die this way. A military vet, grandfather, had his life taken away because of some emotionally frazzled little soy fucking punk ass little fucking gluten free fucking bitch. Man, this is, well. That'll do it for today, folks. Because I don't want to. If the more I look at this picture, man, the angrier I'm getting. So let me just chill the hell out. He's in on first degree murder. I'm sure it'll get pled down. I'm sure it'll get pled down to something else. But that's what I got for you today. Maybe tomorrow we get on a little bit, at least a little bit of a more tepid note for me. And yeah, man, I'll check up with you guys again tomorrow. Thanks for listening.